everyone, and welcome to the final video on green building, and in particular right now, green cities. How can we make our cities more sustainable? Well, the answer is toward a smart growth. What is a smart growth for a green city? For a city is to develop several components of that city development, of the city part, to attain, to reach, in fact, a more eco-friendly type of city. Part of it will be using what we call mixed use. Mixed use is, in fact, instead of having areas of the city used for residential, another place for factories, another place for malls, etc., the mixed use is to combine all of them together to create a place where people may not have to drive to be going to do shopping, to be going to school, etc. Another one is to create compact buildings. Why having that much spread of the building for our little population? Trying to reduce the size of our building to make more use of the space we have, of the land we have. Providing a range of housing choice, making sure that your housing is well built, and based on the previous video we talked before, making the environment safer and pushing people to be outside to work by creating workable neighborhood, kind of providing this idea of community by this idea of sense of place, providing lots of open space for people to go out again, and insisting on creating communities, being happy to be meeting and being outside from people, giving a chance of different transportation, not being only limited by cars, but providing the chance that maybe the place you need to go is very close because of the mixed use, and so you can go either walking, either biking, or so on. Then making sure that you can also be part of that development, involving the population within the decision of the board, within the change that happen in your cities. And so you do have also other approach that I explained in this one that I'm not going to cover, but there are, in fact, I mean, this kind of describe how, in general, we need to rethink how we build, how we modify our cities. And we, in fact, by applying that, we will apply those kind of 10 commandments, which list a little bit what we need to follow in terms of etiquette when we are modifying our cities. One of the things is we need to limit the urban sprawl. We need to limit the increase of the size of the city from its side by protecting what it's around. Mostly it's nature, mostly it's farmland. So we need to put some boundaries of the cities, making sure that instead of having cities that are kind of lost in terms of boundaries, we are creating a strong boundaries like here, where the city will not grow over. And so with this, as you can see, the growth boundary, you're making sure that you're making use of the space correctly. You're forcing the people in charge of building the city or modifying the cities to make use correctly of the space instead of kind of being crazy and making bad choices in terms of the space allocation for the cities. Also comes into question the idea of using greenfield, which is all greenfield is in fact all the natural or crops site that can be turned into a urban site, or using brownfield. Brownfield will be sites like industry that has been abandoned and that has been neglected by the cities instead of being for example, treated. And so there is a tendency to easily go to greenfield because it's less expensive, at least on the short term, but it has the downside of the greenfield is, of course, it's pushing towards urban sprawl, which is a bad thing. We want to contain our population, and moving towards a brownfield, which tend to be more expensive. You need to clean up the potential pollution. You need to destroy the potential building that was there, or at least to restore them. But it can be it can have a positive impact on the environment by providing at the end a cheaper option, by also avoiding some kind of poor region to develop, to avoid maybe criminality to develop into those abandoned factories, providing a new personality to the city, making sure that all the places of the city tend to be safe, tend to be attractive. So the brownfield option tend to be the less pleasant one, but has the most potential impact, positive impact when developing a sustainable city. As we mentioned, ideal cities, especially when we talk about green cities, well, we need to introduce more green, moving from the gray concrete or pavement towards more green by having more open space, by providing habitats for birds and other biodiversity, by providing stormwater system that will absorb water, as we saw with swales, with rain gardens, for example. And those open space will in fact attract people to go out and to meet each other, to create this community bonding. With building a sustainable city, one of the major one is to, in fact, create this mixed use, where we have habitation, homes, housing mixed with businesses, for example, where people will go out easily, such as in the downtown also. That will be a scenic walk, it will be a nice place to go, promoting, in fact, public place to sit, place for social contact, which is a major thing that cities tend to have lost over time, because we have kind of focused on the cities being mostly with a transportation controlled by cars that unfortunately tend to be more like a personal type of transportation, and doesn't promote social bonding, social cohesion. It doesn't promote a good health, and it tends to limit the activity possible for young, old people, or injured people in itself. Some people would have a hard time, for example, to live without car. Maybe you, it's okay, maybe you're living fine without car, or maybe you can't decide. But a good eco-friendly city should have a good transportation that allows people to connect, to go from places to places. And in some way, the Western cities here in the US tend to lack this convenient transit. A transit-oriented development is a must. And there are good examples that can be taken from Europe, that can be taken from Japan, where people can spend a full life without owning a car. They don't need it because they have different transportation options that can happen. And that can be through the building of different cities where people can go just one place to the other by just walking or cycling. For example, in the Netherlands and in Denmark, they use a lot of bicycle. They can use public transportation. And the mixed use, where, as you can see, we have residential mixed with institutional, commercial, industrial, for example, not so far away, allows for people to move from one place to the other very easily, with this idea of compacting cities instead of sprawling the cities. And so, one last time, this mixed use is the way to go. The idea that when we do the urban planning, we think about transportation, we should concentrate the population, the businesses, the industry all together, and the school, access to restaurant, so people don't have to take the car. People can just go out, walking distance, biking distance, and they can bonding socially, which is again a very important portion of what we kind of have lost in our cities, unfortunately. You will find in some of the big cities here in the US, but mostly, for example, in Europe, that the ground floor will be usually used for stores and businesses, and the second floor and above will be used for residential. This is a mixed use also that works pretty well, that allows, in fact, people to live close to places sometimes they are living, allowing for fewer car trips to happen, to allow for more diversity of people and more social bonding. And also, studies show that having people always outside avoid or limit criminality and make, in fact, the place safer. One example with the development of the urban planning for Los Angeles with this video. If it wants to start.
You love your neighborhood? I sure love it. I love everything about it. While I love my neighborhood, it's beginning to change, just like all great cities. Growth and increased density is not just probable, it's inevitable. The question is, how do we harness the best elements of growth? It's transit, mobility, and services. It accommodates the need for parking, by restaurants and cafes, provide the much needed affordable and senior housing, work and creative office spaces, play and relax in commons and plazas, create vibrant pedestrian and bicycle experiences. The best part is, you can have all of this within walking distance of where we live. By focusing development in appropriate locations, we can preserve everything we love and enjoy about our neighborhood. Embrace the future of your neighborhood by helping us all move LA forward.
And speaking about the urban sprawl city, LA is definitely an example, and I'm glad that they are trying to move towards more this idea of mixed use and more sustainable city. And to end this recording, I will let you watch this video, which is an example, of course, of a city on the idea of urban planning of a sustainable city. And with that, we are done with after that video, we are done with the recording, and I wish you a good rest of your day then.
What do we need to be healthy and well? A good start in life, a place we can call home, enough money to get by, access to good food, friends and family we can count on, a sense of safety and belonging, and plenty of opportunities for working, playing, connecting, and learning. These are the building blocks of a healthy city for all. Is this vision too ambitious? Surely we all deserve to live in a city in which we're not just surviving, but where we're thriving. And many of us are thriving. Vancouver's famous for our spectacular natural setting, our urban planning, and our active people. But many of our fellow residents are struggling. The good news is that it doesn't have to be this way. And the Healthy City Strategy is the city's plan for creating a healthy city for all of us. The Healthy City Strategy doesn't reinvent the wheel. Instead, it connects the dots, making sure that we are planning in an integrated way for environmental, economic, and social needs. We've identified 12 big goal areas and some big targets that we want to reach by 2025. Some of these, like getting around, have a whole strategy in place already, and progress is being made. But the rest of them have new targets, which will help us to move from where we are today to where we want to be in 2025. And taken together, if we reach them all, Vancouver will become a healthy city for all. But we can't reach any of these targets on our own. Everyone has a part to play and something to gain. Research shows that countries that have less of a gap between the haves and the have-nots enjoy higher levels of health and well-being for everyone. So how do we get there? Einstein famously said that we can't solve our problems at the same level of thinking with which we created them. That's where you come in. We need new ways of thinking, new ways of acting, and new ways of working together. Be part of the Talk Healthy City for All discussion. Get involved, share your boldest and best ideas, and let's make them happen.
And again, with that, we are done with the recording of the video. Thank you very much for your attention and see you soon. Bye.